The reason I'm making this video is to show the lake that's going to form. If you look at my neighbor's eaves, they don't have gutters. Everything falls straight off, and if it rains hard enough, long enough today, you'll have a lake that'll be about 3 feet wide in front of that patio, because everything out to that plant is uphill. That plant is probably 2 or 3 inches uphill from the patio. Now, I hope my lens didn't get up. In contrast to all that, what you're looking at there is, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been doing everything I can to defeat the berm that was put across my 3 lots. Okay, this was one of my lots at one time. They built this for me. You see where that plant is? It's uphill all the way from that lake. And if you look, I'm looking through a screen right now, but right there, you see that little pocket of water? I've seen where we've got a lake there. There's a lake out there on the front yard, and there's a huge lake in front of this patio, landlocked. Can't go anywhere. The water's going to die there. When it stops raining, the water just sits there and absorbs and soaks into the ground or evaporates. It's called retention. Retention and detention are 2 different things. And detention is where you put an outlet. Like you have a tub. The tub fills up with all this water, but you have a drain where the tub, within a day or a few hours, within 36 hours, has a chance to drain completely. We don't get any drainage up here all day long. This water that's landing right there in front of my neighbor's patio, that water is going to be there forever. Now, I'm doing everything I can to get the water to shed off my lot. I'm doing everything I can to get the water to shed off my lot. All this work, all that open rock area, I had a berm. I had to pay a contractor with a bobcat to come in here and take the berm out. He took about 100 yards of dirt off my yard. There used to be a berm between my patios and that line of plants out there. It was just like this. The water used to pool. That's why I had to put gutters, which you're looking up there. You see the gutters are on my house up there. These are gutters. I put them on, and this is what I've been doing for the last year. You see that? I've got downspouts. I just put in a 3-inch line, and it's working. It's working. Now I'll show you all the rework I did over here, and it's working. I used to get a lake right there. Right there. Used to get a lake. Well, I spent all summer on hot days getting out here. I made a video even on the 5th of July where I was out here at 6 in the morning. What I did is I resculpted all this. I took all the rock and sifted it. So all that rock you're looking at has no sand or pebbles in it. It drains. It's made to drain. It's drainage rock. But I've got a drain right there, and we're not accumulating any water here because I fixed it this summer. Okay? I'll go to the front of the house here, but what you're looking at is my lot shedding water. And if you look out there, I'll zoom in on it. That's the end of a 3-inch pipe. That's how much water is produced by my roof. That's just 1/2 of the water that comes off this patio roof. The other half is over here. I'll show you the other half over here. There, you see? There's the other half. That's just off my roof. Those 2 rivers of water come off my roof. Okay? Dedicated pipe. That's how much water. That's just my patio roof. Now I've got this. This one is working the same way. And on the other side of that house, I did all that work in the last couple months. Start this video from my other house, lot 316. and I want to show you my neighbor's eaves. I hope the camera is picking up how much water is coming off those eaves right now. I'm going to step out there and show you. That eave right there goes all the way down there. That's 75 feet of eave. And if you look at the roof, look at how much roof, flat roof, a water collector the whole way. So what I'm trying to get across to the viewer is the amount of water that comes off that roof. You've got hundreds of square feet of roof tile, and it's going to deposit the water right between these houses. Now, I'm going to try to get across to the viewer what I did here. You don't see any weeds here because I've got 6 layers, or 2 layers of 6 mil plastic. Right where you see that cactus, about 3 feet this way from the cactus, between the cactus and the downspout, is a drain. A dedicated 4-inch drain that runs out to the property line. There's another drain that runs from the corner of that house out to the property line. This right here is a drain that runs out that I took out of service because it went into a 1-inch line in that last storm we had in March. If you look at this area where the downspout went into the mechanism, I got a video where it was gushing out. So the pipe wasn't big enough. So this year I spent the time. But what I'm trying to impress upon you, before I did all this work 7 years ago, 5 years ago, this summer, I'm constantly monitoring. When I saw we had this March storm and I saw that this was overwhelmed, I went and did it over again. Okay? I went and did it over again to make sure that the water, but when I'm trying to impress my neighbor, the HOA, we used to have, and I will show you in a video, a rain like this, we would have a lake. By this time, we'd have a lake right here. Where you're looking at the camera, let me get back, right there, that area between the 2 houses was a lake. A lake. A lake that in big storms would go back to that air conditioning unit. And what made it so bad for me was that that house pad is an inch higher than my pad. And if you look at the cement, let's get a good close-up of that cement. Take a real good look. What that is rotted cement on my patio. Okay? That's rotted cement on my patio. It's rotted. Why is it rotted? Because when the water used to come off this roof, it used to build a lake here that never went away. Again, retention. The builder right about where you see that palm tree, the builder put a berm that ran all the way from the access easement, the water easement, put a berm all the way down. They divided all the lots in half and put a berm right down the middle of the lot that was uphill from the patio. This patio right here, I'm trying to sell this house, but I'm trying to be honest, and I have to tell everybody that they did a razzle-dazzle out here. The civil engineers did a razzle-dazzle, a flea flicker, a reverse, whatever you want to call it, and they decided to lower the house 3 inches. The reason they had to lower the house 3 inches is they took that drain out of service. Look at Woody Scouten's letter. Woody Scouten's letter says the drain was taken out of service. It's been filled in. What are we going to do with all the water that comes off this roof? All right? Now I've got gutters up. I've put up gutters. I've put in drainage to get the water. I've got 3 pipes going down there for drainage. And my neighbor's done nothing. And I have all this land. I got two of the bigger lots here on the course. And they were going to use these lots for storing water up here. And they figured nobody would ever know, right? Well, I kind of found out when I come out here during the 100-year storm and my patio's underwater and I got a lake. I got a lake out to that cactus out there with the arms on it. I got a lake from there all the way back to there from house to house. And the patio's underwater. And for the next year, all that water, it just soaks in the ground and it rots. Just cement. Now, as far as I'm concerned, my whole pad under the house is like that. It's rotted. The builder built a wet area up here. They put a place where they could store water. If you look at the line, take a look at my neighbor's lot. Everything is uphill from this house. How are you going to drain water off this lot? All the grading is meant to drain backwards toward the house and then onto my lot. They made my house an inch lower than the other house, and they've been draining the water onto my lot. They intended to do this for 1,000 years, forever and ever. And when they did this, they figured nobody has the geometry background to figure out what we did. Nobody will figure out what we did, okay? Well, I figured it out. I got kind of an engineering background. I have a background in real estate. I was a real estate agent for about a year in Seattle back in 1978. So I have a little bit of, I speak the language. I know how things are supposed to go. And this was fraud. This was sabotage. This was booby trapping my lot, that in any 100-year storm or any bad storm, I was going to take the hit, okay? The golf course isn't going to take the water from them lots. Every lot. This is the end lot. It's 317. Lot 317, all the way up there to almost the corner. That property line that borders the golf course for every one of those lots has a 3-dimensional point to it. It has to be horizontal in the best place, and it has to be elevation-wise, it has to be right. Well, it's high. It's high. They built them all high. They built the property lines all high. They were high, and I made sure that they had a high enough property line, so they went big on high on the property line, and then between the property line and the patios, they put berms to keep all the water that comes off these roofs up here, and off the courts. This is a sales video. I'm telling anybody that's going to buy this house what happened. You won't get this from a real estate agent out here in Buckeye. I used to release receive and dispatch airplanes, 747s, DC-10s, you name it, 767s, 757s. I had to sign them off as being airworthy. My signature went on the document that said this plane is good to fly. I was the last one to sign it off to say it's ready to fly. It has no faults, no write-ups. Everything has been identified. Well, this is what I'm doing for this house when I go to sell it. I'm identifying what took place, the DNA of this neighborhood, and the DNA of my lot, and I'm going to let everybody know what I had to go through. Now, in the middle of all this spiel, I'm going to let you know where we are. If this was 8 years ago before I found out what they did, we'd have a lake right now. We'd have a lake forming like out in front of my other neighbor's house that is going nowhere. It's just the water's going to soak underground and stay there. And we don't get a lot of sun here. We get about 2 hours of sun between these two houses. Okay? The sun rises on that, over that house, and it sets over there. So, we get about 2 hours of sun to try to dry this out every day. But, this is what's going on. This is the geometry problem that the Meritage gave me. And I'm getting no support from the HOA. Whenever I try to go to the HOA to explain what's going on here, nobody will talk to me. Nobody in City Hall will talk to me. The last time I went to City Hall, you've got a second floor with about 40 or 50 engineers on it, and there wasn't one engineer that would come out and talk to me. What? Because I want an answer as to why this house got lowered 3 inches below the master plan. The master plan has all the finished floor elevations for every house here. They figured it out 5 years or 2 years before they ever laid a house or pad out here. It was all figured out for drainage. This hole is supposed to have a drainage signature. Every lot is supposed to fall away from the patio, and the water is to run onto the golf course to keep the lot dry. Now, I'll go back over to my neighbors and look, no lake. There, between the houses, I used to have a lake. Every time it would rain, I would get a lake there. I fixed it. Now, we're going to go back over and I'm going to show you what's happening with my neighbor's house. You see all that water right there? This land, we haven't had a rainstorm for about 5 months. This land is soaking that water up like a sponge. Now, if it was 3 days later and we got 2 days of rain and in 3 days, you'd see a pool. By now you'd have a lake because of water. What we're doing right now is we're filling the sponge up with water here. This sponge that Meritage built for everybody up here is filling with water. It isn't running off the lot. It's just soaking into the ground. And all this work I've done on my land to get the water to shed like a duck off the land is being defeated because I live next door to a sponge who's trying to soak up all the water they can. They won't put up a gutter. They won't fix the slope. They know it goes uphill. They know this water sits in front of your yard. And right there where that hose is, that's a lake. That becomes a lake, a landlocked lake. I hate doing this. I hate putting a camera on my neighbor or anything like that. I hate having to go through this day in and day out. And I'm doing a lot of work here. I'm working every day. If somebody thinks I've neglected a lot or I'm doing something unsightly, I'm not. I'm trying to fix the drainage on my lot that was screwed up by the builder. Take a look. Take a look. You see that lake that's forming in front of the house? That lake is going away because it's so dry. This is a light rain. It's our first rain. That land in front of that patio is like an open sponge that's dried. It's just soaking up all that water. But what happens in 2 days? What happens in 2 days when it's so soaked right now and the water can't go into the land? Now we start getting lakes up here. That's when you get a lake right in front of that screen, and it's landlocked. I've tried to talk to the landlord or the owner of the property. In fact, I talked to both of them. The guy that bought it from me, I told him the whole story about the drainage, and he sold it without telling the other guy. Now the new owner, I keep trying to tell him and express to him, how can I keep the land under my house dry when you're allowing this to happen? You won't put up gutters. You won't fix the grading. Everything is running from that plant back to the patio. This is how the builder, this is the tribal knowledge that goes on golf course construction in Arizona. Okay, that golf course register is a lot more, cash register is more important than the drainage of these yards. And it was like that from the beginning. When that plan left North Phoenix 18 or 19 years ago with all the elevations on it for all the homes and all the lot lines, when they said, where's it going? They said Buckeye. They said, oh Jesus, be lucky if half of this plan survives. Well, here's part of it that didn't survive. They took that access easement that's for emergency vehicles. We in parcel 12 do not have an emergency access for medical, fire, any rescue, any service vehicle that needs to get into this neighborhood through Tract A can't, because they have rocks and a sign at the end of it. They've made the decision, they've closed the book on Tract A. It's never ever going to have golf carts or vehicles. The only problem is one of these days we're going to need. Doug Jones brings 2 4-ton trucks in here at a time over through there. Goes right through here. He goes by the ladies' tee and he parks them up on the long tee 180 yards away. Okay? And they have their hole-in-one contest. Now, I envision when I see Doug Jones' truck coming through here, I envision an emergency. Maybe it's a fire vehicle or a medical rescue vehicle that can't get in to the neighborhood into parcel 12 because there's been an accident over by Goodwill. Or there's been a meltdown, an accident between Goodwill, or right there between the 2 entrances going into Sundance. And we're paralyzed. There's a bottleneck. We can't get into the parcel 12. And we have an emergency. A child gets hit by a golf ball. A person falls. A person has a stroke. We need emergency vehicles. Excuse me. Tract A was to be that venue for emergency vehicles. It was designed to be a drain to protect this neighborhood from flooding. It's neither. When these like I said, they did a flea flicker, Statue of Liberty play, a razzle dazzle, a quarterback sneak, whatever you want to call it. The civil engineers out here 18 years ago decided that they were going to change the highest and best use of that tract. And the highest and best use, where the ladies' tee box, the highest and best use on the design was for that to be a catch basin that took water from the pipe out at the end, where the pipe was legal as far as its pitch, its flow rate. They defeated all that. That all got defeated by a bunch of, more or less, they booby-trapped my lot. They booby-trapped it and they sabotaged my house. By lowering my thing, they've sabotaged my sewage. My sewage, I've ordered the person that lives in the house, or more or less requested, do not use the garbage disposal. I can prove to you on paper. I can prove to you on paper, when I send you the paper that says the permit for the house, and you figure it out and extrapolate the value, they built my house, as according to the permit, 3 inches lower than the master plan. Thank you for listening.